In a world that constantly demands our attention, where every second is filled with notifications, conversations, and the pressure to respond, silence has become a rare commodity. We are conditioned to believe that the more we speak, the more we contribute, that filling the space with words is a sign of intelligence, engagement, or leadership. But what if the opposite is true? What if clarity, true, deep, meaningful clarity, comes not from speaking, but from embracing silence? When we step back from the noise, we create a space where our thoughts can settle. Imagine a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, it stays murky. But if you let it sit, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. Our minds work the same way. When we are constantly engaged in conversation, constantly trying to have the next word, the next idea, the next response, we never give ourselves the opportunity to let things settle. We never allow clarity to emerge. Some of the greatest minds in history, scientists, philosophers, artists, understood this. They sought solitude, not because they disliked people, but because they knew that the most profound insights come in moments of stillness. It is in silence that we hear the things we often miss, the subtle connections between ideas, the unspoken needs of those around us, the truth behind our own feelings and intentions. And yet silence makes us uncomfortable. We rush to fill it, to break it, to drown it out. Why? Because silence forces us to confront what is really going on inside. It strips away distractions and leaves us face to face with our thoughts, our fears, our doubts. But it is in that moment, when we resist the urge to escape, that real clarity is found. Clarity is not about having all the answers. It's about creating the conditions for the right answers to reveal themselves. It's about making space for reflection, for understanding, for seeing beyond the immediate and into the deeper truths that are often hidden beneath the surface. And here's the thing. When we learn to embrace silence, when we stop reacting to every impulse and instead allow ourselves to simply be, we start to see things differently. Conversations become more meaningful. Decisions become more intentional. Our vision becomes sharper, not because we are forcing clarity, but because we are allowing it to emerge naturally. We live in a world that celebrates the loudest voices, the ones who speak the most, the ones who dominate conversations, the ones who always have something to say. From an early age, we are taught that being outspoken is a sign of confidence, that having an immediate answer makes us intelligent, that being heard is the same as being valued. But if we look closely at the greatest leaders, the most influential thinkers, and the most inspiring individuals, we'll notice a pattern. They listen more than they speak. Listening is not just about hearing words, it's about understanding. It's about creating a space where real communication can happen. Yet, so often, we listen with the intent to respond, not with the intent to understand. We wait for our turn to speak. We formulate our response while the other person is still talking, and in doing so, we miss the most valuable part of the conversation, the message behind the words. There is immense power in listening. When we truly listen, we connect on a deeper level. We hear what people mean, not just what they say. We begin to pick up on the emotions behind the words, the hesitations that reveal uncertainty, the tone that tells us more than the sentence itself. In that space, trust is built. In that space, leadership is formed. Most people assume that speaking is what gives them influence, but the reality is, it's listening that earns respect. When we listen, we show people that they matter, that their words, their thoughts, their concerns are important. And when people feel heard, they feel valued. And when they feel valued, they open up, they share more. They trust more. But listening isn't just about others. It's about ourselves too. When we are always speaking, we leave no room for learning. We stay trapped in our own perspectives, our own beliefs, our own ways of thinking. But when we listen, we grow. We allow new ideas to enter. We challenge our assumptions. We expand our understanding of the world. Some of the most profound moments in life happen in silence, in the pause between words, in the moments where we hold back from filling the space and instead allow someone else to step forward. In those moments, we learn. We gain insights we would have otherwise missed. We develop the patience to absorb instead of react, the wisdom to seek understanding instead of validation, the ability to create meaningful connections instead of just surface-level exchanges. It takes discipline to listen. It takes effort to resist the urge to jump in, to prove a point, to assert an opinion. But when we do, something shifts. We begin to see people differently. We begin to see ourselves differently. We start to recognize that silence is not an absence of contribution. It is the foundation of deeper understanding. We live in a world of urgency, a world that rewards speed, quick decisions, and immediate action. We are constantly told that if we don't act now, we'll miss out on opportunities, on success, on life itself. We're bombarded with messages that tell us to hustle harder, to move faster, to push forward without hesitation. But in our rush to act, we often forget that the best decisions, the most profound insights, and the greatest achievements don't come from impulse. They come from patience. Patience is not about doing nothing. It's not about passivity. It's about understanding that timing matters, that everything has a natural rhythm, and forcing things before they are ready rarely leads to success. We've all seen what happens when people act on impulse. Decisions made in a moment of emotion that lead to regret, words spoken without thought that cause harm, choices driven by fear or pressure rather than wisdom. Impulse may feel like momentum, but more often than not, it leads us down a path we didn't intend to take. Patience, on the other hand, allows clarity to emerge. It gives us space to process, to reflect, to truly understand the situation before taking action. The greatest leaders, the most successful entrepreneurs, the wisest individuals all have one thing in common. They don't react, they respond. They know that every moment of hesitation is not a delay, but an opportunity to gather more insight, to let emotions settle, to make choices that align with their values rather than their impulses. There's a reason why some of the most enduring success stories are not built overnight. Great companies, strong relationships, meaningful careers, none of these things happen in an instant. They require patience. They require the ability to see beyond the immediate gratification and focus on the long game. Impulse tells us to take the shortcut, to go for the quick win, to chase the fastest route to success. Patience reminds us that true success is built on foundations, not fleeting moments. And yet, patience is uncomfortable. It requires trust. Trust that things will unfold as they should. Trust that not acting immediately doesn't mean missing out. Trust that sometimes the best thing we can do is wait, observe, and allow the right path to reveal itself. It's easy to be reactive. It's easy to let emotions dictate our choices. It's easy to believe that the faster we move, the more progress we make. But speed without direction is just movement. Impulse without thought is just reaction. And action without patience often leads to mistakes that take far longer to fix than they would have taken to prevent. Patience is a discipline. It's a skill that requires practice, especially in a world that constantly pushes us to act now. But when we develop it, when we learn to pause, to reflect, to choose response over reaction, we step into a different kind of power. A power that allows us to make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and create something that lasts rather than something that just moves quickly. Have you ever noticed that the things you focus on the most tend to grow? That the problems you constantly worry about seem to get bigger? That the opportunities you invest your attention in start to multiply? This is not coincidence. It's a fundamental truth about how our minds work. Energy flows where attention goes. We often think of energy as something physical, something we get from food, sleep, or exercise, but energy is also deeply connected to focus. Wherever we direct our attention, our thoughts, and our emotions, our energy follows. If we focus on negativity, we find more reasons to be frustrated. If we focus on possibilities, we start to see new doors opening around us. The way we use our attention shapes our reality, whether we realize it or not. The problem is, we live in a world designed to steal our attention. Social media, notifications, news cycles, endless distractions, everything is fighting for a piece of our focus. And when our attention is scattered, so is our energy. We find ourselves exhausted not because we've done too much, but because our focus has been pulled in too many directions. We feel drained not because we lack energy, but because we are spending it on things that don't serve us. Think about how this plays out in everyday life. When we give our attention to complaints, gossip, or problems outside our control, we drain our energy into things that don't create value. When we fixate on what's missing, what's wrong, or what could go wrong, we find ourselves feeling stuck, helpless, and frustrated. But when we shift our attention, when we focus on solutions instead of problems, on gratitude instead of lack, on growth instead of fear, our energy transforms. Suddenly, we feel more in control, more capable, more inspired to take action. This is why the most successful people are not necessarily the most talented or the most intelligent. They are the ones who have mastered the ability to direct their focus. They know that whatever they feed with their attention will expand. They choose to give their energy to ideas that build, to people who inspire, to actions that move them forward. And because of that, they see opportunities where others see obstacles. They create momentum where others feel stuck. They attract success because they focus on what creates it. It's not about ignoring reality. It's not about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about being intentional with where we place our focus. If we focus on problems, we get more problems. If we focus on solutions, we start finding answers. If we focus on what we can't control, we waste energy. If we focus on what we can control, we empower ourselves. The truth is, we have a choice every single day. A choice about where we direct our attention, a choice about what we feed with our focus, and that choice determines the kind of energy we bring into our lives, our work, and our relationships. Strength is often misunderstood. We tend to associate it with power, dominance, or the ability to speak the loudest in a room. We think of strength as being outspoken, as asserting our presence, as making sure our voice is always heard. But real strength, the kind that endures, the kind that inspires, the kind that truly leads, is often found in silence. Silence is not weakness. It is not the absence of power. It is the ability to hold back when unnecessary words would dilute our presence. It is the discipline to observe before reacting, to process before responding. In a world where noise is constant, where everyone is rushing to be seen and heard, the ability to remain silent is one of the greatest signs of strength. Think about the people who command the most respect. They are not the ones who speak just to fill space. They are the ones who speak when it matters, the ones who listen more than they talk, the ones who don't waste energy proving themselves, but instead allow their presence, their actions, and their wisdom to speak for them. Their silence is not passive. It is intentional. It is the silence of someone who knows that true power is not in how much they say, but in the impact of the words they choose to share. Silence also builds resilience. It teaches us to be comfortable in our own thoughts, to sit with discomfort without reacting impulsively. In moments of challenge, the strongest people are not those who lash out, who panic, who let emotions dictate their decisions. The strongest people are those who can sit in silence, process their emotions, and move forward with clarity and purpose. We see this in leadership. The best leaders are not those who dictate, who interrupt, who dominate conversations. They are those who listen deeply, who absorb information before making decisions, who understand that silence is where wisdom is cultivated. They know that when they do speak, their words will carry more weight because they are rooted in thoughtfulness, not just in the need to be heard. Silence also creates presence. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone truly listened? Where they weren't just waiting for their turn to talk, but were fully present, absorbing every word? That kind of presence is rare, and it is powerful. When we embrace silence, we allow ourselves to be fully engaged with the world around us. We notice more. We understand more. We become more intentional in our actions because we are not simply reacting, we are choosing how to respond. But silence is not easy. It takes discipline to hold back when we want to speak. It takes self-awareness to recognize that not every moment requires our input. It takes confidence to understand that our value is not measured by how much we say, but by the depth of our presence. In a world that rewards noise, choosing silence is an act of strength. We live in a world obsessed with immediate results. We want success and we want it now. We want answers, progress, change instantly. If we don't see results right away, we begin to doubt. We question if we're on the right path, if we're doing the right thing, if we should abandon the journey altogether. But the truth is, anything worthwhile takes time. Growth, mastery, success, and none of these happen overnight. They require patience, consistency, and most importantly, trust. Trusting the process means understanding that progress isn't always visible. A tree doesn't sprout the moment the seed is planted. There is an entire phase of growth happening beneath the surface, unseen but crucial. The roots are spreading, strengthening, preparing to support something much bigger. And yet from the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. This is how most meaningful progress works. Just because we don't see immediate results doesn't mean we aren't growing. But trusting the process is hard. We are wired to seek confirmation that we're on the right track. If we don't see progress, we assume we're failing. If things aren't happening as quickly as we expected, we assume something is wrong. This is why so many people give up. Not because they aren't capable, but because they lose faith in the unseen progress that is happening beneath the surface. The reality is, every great achievement is built on a series of small, consistent actions that compound over time. Success is not about one big moment. It's about showing up every day, even when it feels like nothing is changing. It's about understanding that mastery is not a single leap, but a series of steps, repeated over and over. Think about the most successful people in any field. Athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. What sets them apart is not just talent or intelligence. It's their ability to trust the process, to keep practicing when no one is watching, to keep working when there is no immediate reward, to keep believing when doubt starts to creep in. They don't let impatience derail them because they understand that real success is built on persistence. Trusting the process also means accepting setbacks. There will be moments when things don't go as planned, when progress feels like it's moving backward, when failure seems more common than success. But setbacks are not the opposite of progress. They are part of it. Every failure teaches us something. Every challenge strengthens us. The people who succeed are not those who avoid failure, but those who use it to refine their path. But trust requires letting go of control. It requires accepting that we can't always predict how things will unfold. That just because we don't see the full picture yet doesn't mean it isn't coming together. The problem is, we want certainty. We want guarantees. We want to know exactly when and how things will work out. But growth doesn't work that way. Trusting the process means embracing the unknown and continuing forward anyway. The key is consistency. The small actions, the daily habits, the effort we put in, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Those are the things that compound over time, the things that create momentum, the things that eventually lead to breakthroughs. But only if we have the patience to keep going. In today's world, presence is a rarity. We are constantly distracted by our phones, by our thoughts, by the endless stream of information pulling us in different directions. We sit in meetings while checking emails. We listen to conversations while planning what to say next. We spend time with loved ones while our minds are elsewhere. And yet, despite being physically present, we are often absent in the moments that matter most. Presence is more than just being there. It's about fully showing up. It's about giving our undivided attention to the moment in front of us. When we are truly present, we engage with life in a way that is deeper, richer, and more meaningful. We notice details we would have otherwise missed. We hear what people are really saying, not just their words, but their emotions, their intentions, their unspoken concerns. We experience things fully instead of rushing through them, already thinking about what's next. There is a quiet but undeniable power in presence. When someone is fully present with us, we feel it. We sense when someone is genuinely listening, when they are truly engaged, when their attention is not divided, but focused entirely on us. That level of presence creates trust. It builds stronger relationships. It makes people feel seen, heard, and valued. And yet, in a world that moves so fast, presence has become one of the rarest and most valuable gifts we can offer. We often underestimate the impact of our attention. A leader who is fully present with their team creates a culture of trust and respect. A parent who is present with their child builds a bond that lasts a lifetime. A friend who listens without distraction makes the other person feel understood in a way few others do. Presence is what separates good relationships from great ones, surface-level interactions from deep connections, ordinary moments from unforgettable ones. But presence is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires resisting the pull of distractions and choosing to focus on what's in front of us. It requires quieting the mental noise, the endless to-do lists, the worries, the urge to be somewhere else, and simply being where we are. It requires patience, because presence is not about rushing to the next thing, but about immersing ourselves in the now. And the truth is, presence is powerful not just for others, but for ourselves. When we are present, we experience life more fully. We stop living on autopilot. We stop missing the little moments that make life meaningful. We feel more connected to our work, to our relationships, to ourselves. We spend so much time chasing happiness, success, fulfillment, always looking ahead, always thinking the next achievement, the next milestone, the next moment will be the one that brings us what we seek. But what if everything we're looking for isn't somewhere in the future? What if it's right here, right now, waiting for us to notice? Presence is not something we have to earn. It's something we choose. It's available to us in every moment, in every conversation, in every interaction. The only question is whether we are willing to embrace it. We live in a world that glorifies the chase. We are told that if we want something, we must go after it relentlessly, push harder, move faster, chase bigger goals with unwavering force. From a young age, we are taught that success comes from the pursuit, that happiness is something we must run toward, that love, achievement, and fulfillment are things we must seize before someone else does. But what if the greatest things in life are not meant to be hunted down? What if, instead of constantly chasing, we learned to allow? There is an undeniable power in effort, but there is also power in patience, in knowing when to step back, in creating space for things to come to us naturally instead of forcing them into existence. We often confuse movement with progress, thinking that the more we do, the more we achieve. But just as a river does not force its way through the landscape, but instead flows naturally, shaping the world around it over time, the most meaningful things in life often come when we learn to trust the flow rather than fight it. Letting things come to you does not mean being passive. It does not mean sitting back and waiting for life to hand you success. It means understanding that not everything requires a struggle. It means creating the right conditions for opportunities, relationships, and growth to unfold in their own time. The strongest trees do not chase the sun. They root themselves deeply and allow the light to reach them. The most powerful leaders do not demand respect. They embody qualities that naturally draw others toward them. The best opportunities are not forced. They arise when preparation meets the right moment. The problem is, we often let impatience get in the way. We want answers now. We want results now. When things don't happen on our timeline, we assume we are failing. We try to force progress, rush decisions, control outcomes. And yet, in our urgency, we create resistance. We block the very things we are trying to attract because we are too focused on the chase to recognize that some things are meant to unfold, not be forced. Think about the moments when something truly great happened in your life. Was it because you chased it with desperation, or was it because you were in the right place at the right time with the right mindset? The best relationships, the most fulfilling careers, the biggest breakthroughs often come when we are aligned, not when we are pushing against the current. When we are open to receiving rather than fixated on controlling. Letting things come to you requires trust. Trust that opportunities will present themselves when the time is right. Trust that the right people will enter your life when you are ready for them. Trust that growth, success, and clarity will arrive, not through force, but through alignment. It requires shifting from a mindset of scarcity, believing we must grab and hold on tightly, to a mindset of abundance, knowing that what is meant for us will find its way. But trust does not mean doing nothing. It means showing up every day, putting in the work, becoming the kind of person who attracts what they seek. It means planting seeds without obsessing over when they will sprout. It means taking action, but not from a place of fear or urgency, from a place of confidence that what is yours will come and what is not meant for you will pass by. Some of the greatest things in life come when we stop chasing and start allowing. When we let go of the need to force every outcome. When we trust that the things that belong to us will find us in their own time. The key is not in trying harder. It's in becoming more aligned, more open, more ready to receive what is already on its way. Silence is not emptiness. It is not absence. It is a space, a powerful, intentional space where clarity is found, strength is built, and wisdom is cultivated. In a world that pushes us to speak, to act, to chase, we often forget that some of the greatest breakthroughs, the most profound insights, and the deepest connections come not from doing more, but from allowing more. When we embrace silence, we learn to listen, not just to others, but to ourselves. We gain the patience to let things unfold in their own time rather than forcing outcomes that were never meant to be. We learn that energy flows where our attention goes, and when we focus on trust rather than control, on presence rather than noise, on alignment rather than force, everything we seek begins to move toward us. There is an undeniable power in stillness. It allows us to see clearly, to act intentionally, and to recognize that what is meant for us will arrive when we are ready. Strength is not in the noise we make, but in the presence we hold. Growth is not in the force we exert, but in the patience we practice. The world moves fast, but those who know how to be still, who know how to listen, who know how to wait, those are the ones who find what others spend their lives chasing. Stay silent. Be present. Trust the process. Everything will come to you naturally.